Let's do a quick cheers to podcast now,
Mm-hmm.
episode 3, baby. We've made it to the big number 3. They say
Mm-hmm.
that jokes are best in threes, and this podcast is a joke.
Yeah.
I'm your host, Lachlan Rodwell, and I've got my wonderful, amazing co host, absolute shithead,
Untrue.
Lucas Boreham.
Untrue. Untrue. I am not a shithead. I'm actually a fuckhead. All right. Don't get that
Mm,
wrong again.
I promise I won't.
Good.
Now, this week we are talking about the hit Marvel TV series, Loki. He got his own show. Can you believe it?
I mean, no, I can't. When I heard about it, I thought that I was gonna be disappointed, and that I thought, it was just gonna be a throwaway show. It was like, oh, well, we have to do something for Loki, but no, it was brilliant. It was a wonderful, wonderful
Yeah,
show, with wonderful, wonderful characters. So yeah.
yeah, because a lot of these Marvel shows that were announced were taking a side character and giving them their own show, and a lot of them you were like, I don't know, I don't know how I feel about them. But then
Mm-hmm.
they deliver amazing shows. I mean, the budgets on these shows are incredible, and they feel like 6 hour long movies. You know?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I mean, it's absolutely wonderful. Again, the set pieces of this show, amazing. How they play with time and how they take you throughout time, into the past and the future, and how the characters react and how also, the adventures they have and the fights as well are brilliant. It's awesome. It's very good.
I know it is a brilliant show.
Hmm.
I do want to quickly compare it to the other shows because I think it's just interesting. Um, there's something I've noticed about these TV shows, and it's
Hmm.
less true for Loki, but it's more true for WandaVision and Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and that's that these shows are explaining a part of the MCU that is really cool, but it never has huge ramifications for the movies because
Hmm.
people who don't watch the TV shows still need to be able to follow the movies. So all of these shows have promised big things, and then they haven't delivered on those promises because they know if something big happens and then someone hasn't seen the TV show, then they don't know what they're watching when they're seeing the movies, right?
Hmm.
So, for example, in WandaVision, everyone thought that was going to be the show to open up the multiverse and potentially bring us X-Men and I don't know if you
Hmm.
heard of this character, but this devil character called Mephisto. Anyway, there was all of these things, all of these theories that people put together, and there was such high expectations. And at the end of the day, you can watch because the next time we'll see Scarlet Witch will be in Doctor Strange too. I
Hmm.
guarantee you can watch that movie without seeing WandaVision and you'll be okay because she ends the show just as the Scarlet Witch, but you can just assume that there was some character development post Endgame, and you'll be fine. Same thing for Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So Falcon ends the TV show as Captain America, but if you had watched
Hmm.
Endgame, then you know that's where the character's headed anyway. So then
Oh
when you
yeah.
get to Captain America 4 or whatever, you already know it. So then the TV shows just become not necessary viewing. They're not essential
Hmm.
viewing for the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but they delve into something that is really
Hmm.
cool and you should watch. And Loki might be the first one to break that mold because this show has single handedly changed the Marvel Cinematic Universe forever through the multiverse. What were your thoughts when you saw the multiverse explode?
Well, it was shattered, and it shattered my mind. Really, I was kind of like, I'm glad they went this route. It was kind of, I could compare it to my reaction when Thanos snapped his fingers. I was just like, holy shit, that just happened. And again, like I was absolutely blown away, and I was, it was all this excitement, and this kind of fear of like, oh shit, like that just happened when she kind of transported Loki away, back
Sylvie.
to you know the time the time headquarters, and he got
Yeah.
back and he was found Mobius and he was like, Mobius, we're fucked.
Mm.
And Mobius was like, who the fuck are you? And that's when shit, like in my mind, hit the literal
Yeah.
fan, because I was like, Christ, like he's just now stuck in time. He does not know what the fuck to do.
Mm.
So I'm really excited for season two. Very, very excited.
And that's actually an interesting point. This is the
Hmm.
first of the Marvel TV shows to have a confirmed second season. All the
Wow.
other shows
Wow.
aren't getting a second season. And I think that's very telling with what they're planning to do with the show. But yeah,
Hmm.
going back to the ending of the show, yes, Loki is seemingly in a different version of the TVA, right?
Yes.
And I'm not sure where he actually is because the Time Variance Authority, their job is to maintain one single timeline, right?
Yeah.
And then prune off the competing timelines as they emerge. So I'm along the lines that Loki is now in a new TVA who has that same purpose of pruning the timelines, and subsequently that
Hmm.
means that he's now in a completely new timeline where the whole MCU now is in a different timeline because
Hmm.
another version of He Who Remains has taken over and in
Hmm.
this timeline. So now we're in a completely different timeline. Or the other alternative is that there are now multiple versions of the TVA who all think that they're pruning the branches off their respective timelines, but in reality, it's a multiverse. And I'm not
Mm.
quite sure which one it is.
Mm. It's just, well, they're both clusterfucks, and that's what
Hmm.
I, kind of gained, was that yeah, both universes are fucked because they're pruning off into different universes, and everything's kind of going to shit in each universe. And I guess, like as we saw with the Lokis when they all met each other, they all just started fighting each other and killing each other, and that was, I
Hmm.
feel like, very representative of what is going to happen with the man who shall not be named, or whatever his name was, the just the time god, we'll
He
call
who
him.
remains.
Exactly.
Hmm.
I will get to see a lot more of him in kind of different aspects. There'll be a version of him
Hmm.
that'll be, fascist and will just kill everybody, or there'll be
Yeah,
a
yeah.
peaceful version of him that'll just love everybody and be very helpful. And it'll just be so cool
Hmm.
to see how Loki will have to balance this, with
Hmm.
with the not many resources that he has, because he has just himself.
Yeah.
He's the only person that
Well,
knows
yeah.
what the fuck.
It's I guarantee there's going to be a scene in the second season where it's where Loki's like, "Oh, Mobius, we did this together. We had this past life, blah blah blah
Mm,
blah," and then Mobius will be like, "Okay, cool," and then they'll just get on with it. Like I feel like
yeah.
it won't be too long before Mobius is
Mm,
back on the same page. Um,
yeah.
but speaking of this character who shall not be named, I do actually know
Hmm.
his name. Um, would you like to know his name?
Of course, of course. Please tell me.
He is Kang the Conqueror. Does that mean anything to you?
It kind of rings a bell. I'm not gonna lie.
So Kang the Conqueror in the comics is
Hmm.
a he's from, I believe, the 31st century, like he
He
is in
does say
the
that.
show. Um, and he's a descendant of Mr. Fantastic and potentially Doctor Doom. So, this could be an entry into the Fantastic Four as well. And anyway, so this character Kang, well, he essentially wants to conquer all of time, essentially, and
Yeah.
and instead of it being like multiversal different versions of himself, it's just versions of himself throughout different points in time where he takes on these personas and it's almost like method acting where he like fully becomes a character and like loses himself. So then you have various
Mm-hmm.
different versions of the character throughout the Marvel like timeline. Some are good guys and some are bad guys. So, for example, one of them becomes Iron Lad, so essentially like an Iron Man character.
Mm-hmm.
And then another one becomes He Who Remains, which is like the god of time, which we kind of see
Mm-hmm.
in this show. That's the version of Kang the Conqueror we see. So I think
Yeah.
this character is essentially like the next big bad of the MCU.
Mm-hmm.
He's like the new Thanos essentially, and he wants to
Yeah.
control all of time. And what's interesting about the way they did it in the show in comparison to the comics is the comics are very his story in the comics is so confusing and it makes literally no sense. And they've simplified it into the show to be different versions
Thank
of
God.
himself in the different multiverses and fighting each other essentially
Mm-hmm.
to get their timeline to dominate. And what I think is so interesting is in the very first episode, the show talks about the multiversal war. And
Mm,
at
yeah.
first glance, it doesn't really make much sense. Like, surely these timelines can just exist, and why would they be fighting for dominance?
Mm,
And then in the end of the show, it's revealed that Kang is essentially making his timeline win the multiversal war. This timeline won the multiversal war because it was different versions of Kang fighting each other, and this one won. And now the reason that they're pruning the timeline to keep this sacred timeline is to prevent other versions of Kang existing, finding out about the
mm,
multiverse, and then trying the same sort of thing again.
exactly. I like as well how they call it pruning because it looks like there's one tree
Mm,
branch and then there's multiple roots coming off it.
yeah,
And they're obviously pruning those roots to keep that one straight line. But I think you're
yeah,
very right with what, like, about, yeah, is named, kind of pruning these timelines to
yeah,
stop the potential of, yes, an evil him or just himself,
mm,
kind of coming out of existence. But I do think that he's the new Thanos,
yeah.
because yeah, he controls
Well,
literally time itself.
yeah. But like, the question is like, in the show, um, Loki and Sylvie debate whether or not he who remains uh,
Hmm.
is telling the truth or not, because he could just be
Yes.
lying. He could just be like,
Mm.
I want to control everything for myself, um, and we're taking it to be like he's the kind of the good one that saved everything, but that might not be the case. He might be lying to them and actually just it's just him as the one version of Kang. Who knows? Really, like we don't know. And
Mm.
so this character Kang, his next appearance is going to be in Ant-Man 3, which I think is interesting because if he's supposed to be like the next big bad, which I think he is, then
Yeah.
I don't know what role he'll play in the third Ant-Man movie. It's yet to be
Mm.
seen.
Yeah, that's interesting. Well, the Ant-Man is known to play with time. I mean, they do time travel,
Yeah,
and he does allow for time travel to happen in Endgame. So
yeah,
maybe the Ant-Man might become a variant through the TVA, and
mm,
they have a whole kerfuffle with the TVA, and then that's when he's kind of mentioned and brought into the kind of Avengers perspective, and maybe we get
yeah,
but Avengers 4 with, him being the big bad and everybody else, trying to fight him. So that'd be exciting.
yeah.
That'd be really exciting.
I'm actually really happy that the spawning of the multiverse is a direct result of Avengers Endgame. You know what I mean?
Hmm. Hmm.
Because if
Yeah.
Loki hadn't escaped from that movie, then we wouldn't have gotten to the point now where we have a multiverse. And in
Yeah.
Spider-Man, we're going to see potentially multiple Spider-Man, and then of course Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness coming up soon. So those movies aren't that far away as well. They're like Spider-Man's in December of this year.
Yeah, jeez. That's coming up. That's coming up real quick.
Yeah.
Mm.
Um, and the thing with this multiversal story as well is we get finally to see different versions of the same character. So we get to see many different versions of Loki. We get to see the female Loki, crocodile Loki, kid Loki, classic
Hmm.
Loki, and the black Loki. I don't know why his.
Mm. Yeah, he was weird. He had a hammer of his own, and
Yeah,
it was just didn't really
it wasn't
correlate
really
with the other
explained
Lokis. Yeah, but I did
because
like them all though.
so yeah, they're all fantastic, and I think it gives credence to seeing multiple Spider-Man in the future because
Mm.
we've gotten multiple Lokis as like the testing ground. Um, but the thing that's confusing me is what is a Nexus event? Because a Nexus event should be just the start of a new timeline that's branching off that gets pruned.
Mm. Mm.
But say Kang the Conqueror of this show, he is trying to maintain the exact series of events that led to his timeline, right? He's trying to maintain
Mm.
that exact timeline. So then a deviation like Loki being born female, that's quite a large deviation. Wouldn't wouldn't that have been noticed like at the birth or whatever, or when the baby was conceived, or like, and wouldn't it have been pruned then? Because we see
Mm.
Sylvie get pruned when she's like 6 years old, for
Yeah,
example.
that's true. Hmm.
So I don't get when it becomes a Nexus event. And the
Mm.
only thing I can imagine is that it's when it becomes noticeable enough. So maybe in that case, Sylvie being born female um, isn't a big deviation when you're a baby because babies are like universally kind of the same. They just do the same thing.
Mm.
And then when
Exactly.
she's finally a proper child, then it's like she's starting to become more of a woman, let's say, and then it becomes noticeable that oh, this Loki wasn't born as a man in this series of events, so let's
Yeah.
prune
Hmm.
it. That's
Yeah.
what I think is the explanation.
Mm.
But other things that cause Nexus events. So actually, we'll just run down the list of the Lokis.
Mm.
So classic Loki survived Thanos in Endgame,
Yeah.
essentially.
Hmm.
So there was I don't know if you heard about this, but there was a fan theory. Sorry, Infinity War, not Endgame. There was a fan theory that Loki had survived being his neck being snapped in Infinity War by being
Yeah.
a floating bit of debris in the background. Like there was
Wow.
just this theory, and anyway, and it wasn't true. But this show references that because that's how classic Loki
Mm.
survives. Is he uses an illusion, and that's the one that
Mm.
Thanos kills, and then he's floating
Yeah.
as a piece of debris, and saves himself. And then so he would have survived as like a hermit essentially, living by himself on a planet
Mm.
nowhere for
Hmm.
ages. And then that's why he was
Hmm.
undetected. And then eventually when he left and decided to start doing things, then that's when the TVA like saw
Mm.
the deviation in the timeline and corrected it, right?
Hmm.
So that's classic Loki. Then you have Kid
Yeah.
Loki who killed Thor.
Mm.
That was easy.
Wonderful. I love that. I
Yeah.
absolutely love that. That he was just like, oh yeah, I killed Thor, and it kind of helped you, yeah, build up. Okay, this is why. Like that's what a pruning means. And then the black one that said,
Yeah.
oh yeah, I stole all six Infinity Stones and killed everybody else. It was
Yeah.
just like, okay, but like we can understand, you know, how these Lokis get
Yeah.
taken by the TVA.
Exactly. And I think all of these Lokis, I think. Oh, and we also get to see the evil version of Loki that runs for president, which is just a little like cool Easter egg. And
Mhm. Yeah.
that fifth episode in set the end of time, set at the end of time, has so many cool Easter eggs in it. Like, did you see the
Mm.
Thanos helicopter?
Yes, yes, I noticed that. I was like, yes, that says Thanos, but I don't remember Thanos driving a helicopter. So
So
that didn't make sense in my brain.
in
But
in
yeah.
the comics, there's an issue of the Avengers or whatever where Thanos is using a helicopter as his like vehicle of transportation, his mode of transportation, and it's so funny. It's
Oh,
so dumb the entire comic, and
yeah.
he gets arrested by normal police at the end of the comic. He's just arrested, like by normal just New York police officers or something like that. So imagine if that's
He
how
goes
the
to
Marvel
jail.
Cinematic Universe went.
Yeah, Jesus Christ, that'd be very different. But I did notice like a few helicarriers and
Mm.
the bad guy's ship from Guardians of the Galaxy
Yeah, yeah.
in the debris. But yeah, that's about it.
Did you see Thor as a frog trying to go for the hammer?
Yes,
Frog?
yes, I did. I didn't realize he was a frog because he was in a jar, wasn't he?
Mm. He
Yeah,
was in a jar. Um,
yeah. No, I didn't
yeah,
realize that
so
he
many
was a
cool
frog.
Easter eggs. Yeah. See that's something
Mm,
like that would have been so funny if it was like Loki turned me into a frog. Loki turned me into a frog. Um,
mm,
and like you could have just had a quick joke, but nah, they just pen over it for like a second.
yeah,
Um, but the
exactly.
biggest Easter egg is have you heard of the video game arcade conspiracy Polybius? So
No.
there was an arcade machine in this episode um, called Polybius, and or Polybius, I don't know how you say Polybius. And the story there is like in it's this urban myth that in the 80s there was this arcade machine in some random town in Ohio, I believe, that was used to conduct experiments on people. So and they were having like hallucinations and it was like a test for mind control or something like that. And then a few days later, it was taken by men in black suits, and then it was never seen or heard about again. And it's this whole giant conspiracy.
What the fuck? That's insane. Wait, what? Like, this is obviously during what, the 70s or 80s, I guess?
Yeah, I think it was during the 80s. I'm gonna say.
Wow, that's insane. Wait, so like people would play it and then they'd feel like, oh, I feel dizzy in the head, and then they just like,
Yeah.
something like it'd be like a normal game with joysticks
Well,
and buttons, right?
yeah. It's just like an arcade machine.
Jesus.
Yeah, and it was apparently used for mind control experiments. Um,
Speaking of
look,
mind
so I
control and
think.
Black Widow.
Oh, jeez, no, God. And also, all you need is just some breakable vial of red goo,
Mm,
and then you'll be fine.
yeah,
They should have.
yeah, that's what they were missing. The townspeople of
See,
Ohio.
yeah, in the arcade, you know how you collect up your tickets. If you collect up enough,
Mhm.
then you can gift them for one of those vials, and then you're free of the mind control.
That's smart. That is smart because then you have to stay at the arcade to get that vial, so you end up spending all your money. And I
Yeah,
mean, that's profit right there. We should probably write
yeah.
that down somewhere. Get our
That
get
was
our
the
people on that.
true. That was the true reason they created this vending machine. It was just for that's not this vending machine, this arcade machine. It was just for profits. It was not a
No,
test
the
at
vending
all.
machines for the red vials.
Yeah, yeah, because they were testing if the red vials worked. That's how this
Mm,
happened. So this
mm,
arcade machine has a lot of lore inside of the MCU. Um, there was also another conspiracy, urban myth type thing that this show dealt with.
mhm.
So in the first episode where you see Loki and
The
he's on the
DB
plane,
Cooper.
DB Cooper.
Love that. Love it so much that they did that.
So
Oh, so
have
good.
you heard of that before?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I had never heard of it. I was like, this is insane. So some
Mhm,
guy uh, stole money on a flight midair, I believe, and then
mhm.
jumped out of the plane and has never been seen again.
Yeah, they said they found remnants of the dollar or the $100 bills in the sand like 30 years after it happened. So that explains for when Loki gets, um,
Hmm.
teleported by
Yeah,
what was it
time
from
lord.
to Asgard. Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
And
Idris
all the
Elba.
money goes. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love that. I love how Marvel kind of weaves itself into urban myths. It's just the best. It's
Mm.
so cool.
And as well, in the final episode, you know how there's all the character at the very start. There's all the lines of dialogue from the different characters in the
Yes.
opening sequence. Some of
Hmm.
those lines of dialogue are real things as well. Like, so it's like Neil Armstrong landing on the moon and stuff like that.
Hmm.
Did I say
Yeah.
Neil?
I didn't.
Oh,
Wait.
it is Neil. I was going to say, I think I got confused between the Armstrongs. I thought it was Lance Armstrong, but no, it's Neil. Neil was the one who landed on the moon, right?
Yeah.
Good. I'm not an idiot.
That'd be worrying.
Yeah, I'm supposed to be the expert in all things nerdy. So,
Yeah. Exactly. You're the nerd, and I'm that like school guy that goes
you're
kapow.
the bully.
You know. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. I'm the jock or something. I don't know.
Yeah. So now I want to get into a very important topic of conversation. All right, this is a big theme. So there's a lot of themes in the show. One of them is free will. We'll get to that. But the biggest theme, I think the most important theme, is is it okay to fuck yourself?
Mm, mm, mm. Yes. Well, I'm not saying yes to that. I'm saying yes to. Um, I guess it's
How the
strange
show
because he
answers it.
does. The Lokis do kiss at the end, and it's
Yes.
because I was watching it and I was like, oh, that's great, and then I was like, wait, but they're both Lokis.
But
But
no,
then I was
Loki.
like, I was like, oh well, it's different. Like they both shouldn't be in the same universe,
Hmm.
so I guess it's fine. Because like, well, I don't
Yeah,
know, but they're both adopted, so it's fine.
they are both adopted. Okay, so yeah, they could be adopted from different
Mm,
families. Ah, then it's okay.
yeah. See, crisis
There we go.
averted.
Crisis averted. But they should have explained that. If they had a line of dialogue that explained that, that would have been good. Because all that was running through my mind was like, is this self-cest? Is that such a thing?
Yeah, yeah. Well, no, like I feel like I'm kind of glad that they didn't say that because that would just be weird. Like they're in the guys, palace or whatever, and they just mention
Well, yeah,
incest, and it's bro, you got to
yeah.
save the
Well,
universe.
if there was just yeah, if just a casual bro talk between Loki and Mobius, just like, is this
Yeah,
okay?
yeah. True, 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 true.
Would
I guess so. I
would
guess so.
you fuck would you fuck a female version of yourself?
I don't think so. No, I feel like I'd hate a version of myself. I'd get tired of a version of myself. You know?
Mm, yeah, I'd agree.
Yeah.
Because I
Well, yeah.
mean, it's just like one of
What about
those.
you? Yeah.
I don't. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. If my female version of myself was really hot, then which I imagine it would be. Oh, my female version will be smoking hot.
And that's incest. That's
So,
incest, bro. So that you're going to jail.
well, I mean, who's going to take me? The TVA is the well, and in the show as well. It is them when they're on the planet and they're about to die, and they go into about to kiss each other and they don't. That was
Yeah.
enough to cause a Nexus event.
Yeah, I didn't get that at all. Like how they're like, "Oh, that's the biggest branch I've ever seen." It's like they're hugging
Hmm.
each other. What is, and this is an apocalypse,
Yeah,
Like how is this
you're still going to be
changing
dead at the
the
end of it.
fate? Exactly, exactly. I just didn't understand. I didn't understand that at all.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say that was probably the one. Like, I think all of the Nexus events are a bit confusing, but that's the one that stands out
Mhm.
as being how
Yeah,
is this a Nexus event? And I guess you could
exactly.
argue that the he who remains King the Conqueror saw it happening
Hmm.
and was like, "Oh, this we've never seen this before. Okay, I'll
Yeah.
let them live. This could be the
Hmm.
the difference. Like these are the people I've been looking for potentially."
I That actually might make sense because he does mention that at the end when he's like, "Oh, I've
Hmm.
been looking for a person to fill in for me, and I didn't realize it'd be two people because him seeing them come together like as a team and be like, oh, but like we work really well together and we love each other or whatever the fuck. I feel like that in his mind was like, okay, these guys, could be great to take over my job as time god or whatever. But yeah,
And one final point on the self-cest. Um, if 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 you actually were to get yourself pregnant,
hmm,
technically what you would have created would be a clone. So it's okay. It wouldn't be like incest where you're inbreeding. It would technically be a genetic clone of you. So it's all okay.
what? No, wait, what? How would if I
Because
so
if
if my
yeah.
wait, I
So
don't get
say
that.
two people, the exact same DNA, right? Just one's a girl and the other's a guy. And they
Yeah,
create a baby, then they would have the exact same because you know how you're pulling like half from your mom, half from your dad. It doesn't
yeah.
it wouldn't matter how you did it. You get the same person. You know what I mean?
I
Look, this
do,
is
I do
this is
understand.
look, this is really off topic. It's just I've never had a medium to talk about self-cest before, and now I do.
I understand. I understand. See, TV shows like this love to help
Mm.
people understand and bring, what they actually care about to light. Well, I
Yeah.
feel like a lot of people were talking a lot about how Loki's bisexual. Like they were going crazy over
Yeah.
that. And then someone mentioned that, oh, like he's probably like done other things with like other beings, so in
Yeah.
reality like it's very very minimal, which I thought was quite
Yeah.
weird.
It's kind of like Rick from Rick and Morty who just fucks
Mm.
anything that moves.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, like a planet. That was hilarious.
Yeah, exactly. So I think there's something about people who are extremely sexual just would fuck anything, right? And they wouldn't make a big
Hmm,
deal out of them
hmm.
being, in this case for Loki, bisexual. But yeah, I mean, I think it's important because it fits the character. So it's
It
good to just
does.
have a bit of representation where it
He's
makes
a
sense
god.
in this case. Yeah.
He's a god. Like he's not mortal. He doesn't like
Mm.
he has like he literally lives for hundreds of years. Like of course
Yeah.
he's going to try things.
Yeah. That's all
Hmm.
good. Yeah. I mean, we'd all turn gay eventually.
Mm. Yeah, maybe gay people have just like been living for hundreds of years.
It's like reincarnation. The people who have reincarnated the most are gay. I think we've figured out the origins of homosexuality on this podcast.
We have. We literally have, because that's why there were less homosexuals back in the day and more now,
Yes,
because more people have
correct.
lived longer.
My God, this is a this is a revelation.
We are just out here, just
Hmm.
mind blowing left, right, and center right now. It's insane. It's insane. But yeah.
Okay, let's move on from homosexuality and self-cest, and well, I guess Loki's bisexual. But anyway, let's move on and talk about
Mhm.
the concept of free will. Right, it's a difficult topic, um,
Mhm.
and this show says essentially that everything that's happened in the Marvel Cinematic Universe was always going to happen. It was meant to happen. So, say in Endgame, right, Doctor Strange sees 14 billion outcomes or whatever,
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
they were always going to be in the one where they won because Kang the Conqueror decided, well, didn't decide. He's
Mhm.
from the timeline in which that had happened, right? So he's trying to maintain that timeline. So that series of events was always supposed to happen. So it kind of
Mhm.
ruins like the agency of the characters, at least in the Marvel Cinematic Universe prior, right? I don't know. Did you really
Yeah.
care about it at all?
I did, and I like how they did like talk about it a lot. Like I did love how well they like Loki got to see his own death. He got to see how he became a better person towards, Thor and his mother. Like, I absolutely love that. And it did make me feel like, oh shit, like, yeah, if Kane just, did this all, like, oh, he's taking out Loki when he stole the
Mm.
Tesseract at the start so he doesn't fuck up the big plan. um,
Yeah.
then yeah, it kind of does feel a bit like they cheated. I guess it doesn't feel,
Yeah.
like, oh, okay, it was always supposed to happen. I mean, sick. Um, yeah, I don't know what to think, but I do like that they mention that. I guess it is good that
Yeah.
they talk about
And I really liked how so the whole finale episode, it was a metaphor, I guess you could say, or it was I don't know. It had the imagery of the Garden of Eden, right, where you have Adam and Eve and the devil, who's
it. Mm,
testing them essentially, and saying,
wow.
you can either keep it the way it is, right, in which everything's perfect, um,
Hmm.
or you can take a bite of the apple and
Hmm.
and launch the whole of the universe forever into um, into free having free will and being and anyone is able to do anything they want, right?
Yeah.
So they give that choice to essentially Adam and Eve in Loki and Sylvie to be like, okay, you now in because I love that moment when he's like, I knew everything up until right now or
Yeah.
10 seconds ago,
Yeah.
whatever.
Hmm.
Like
Hmm.
that was so brilliant. And it's like, okay, so he legitimately doesn't know. Well, if we take him at face value, he legitimately doesn't know what's going to happen next. And now Loki
Hmm.
and Sylvie have free will to determine the fate of the universe. And
Hmm.
the thing I liked about it was that this is like the first show that's really been about an anti hero. Or it's the first Marvel character to really be an anti hero. Because I mean,
Hmm.
like let's say like Venom, for example, was an anti-hero, but he's not like he's a straight up good guy. I mean, he's not really an
He
anti-hero
saved, yeah,
at
he
all.
saved like, because he didn't want his mates to come down to Earth and fuck everything up. He was like, no, I'm gonna, be chill. But yeah, I understand what you mean. Yeah, Loki is. I mean, he starts as the anti-villain. He starts like, fucking
Yeah,
around with the TVA, and but we see him grow really well, and then
yeah,
he is compelled by Sylvia, who is like still again like Loki and evil, and
yeah,
wants it all for herself. But I understand where she's coming from as well. Like that it's just yeah, this dictator who's controlling everybody and killing. Well, not
mm,
killing people, but pruning people on the side, like her, for instance, and taking away her
yeah.
entire life just to keep the greater good going.
Keep the order. Yeah,
And
and
she's
see,
like, well,
and and that's like and that's like not dealing with good and evil. It's dealing with the gray, where is
yeah.
the best outcome. Like do the was it do the means justify the no do the does the yeah do the means justify the end or whatever. This is kind of what this show
Um,
deals with. Is
yes.
I don't know if I'm saying that saying right, but like this show is dealing with themes of are is the ultimate, I guess, outcome of having a good version of King the Conqueror instead of a a terrible fascist dictator one. Is that worth removing everyone's free will to act as they want? And ultimately,
Exactly. Yeah.
Sylvie is the one that says no.
Mhm.
Because I think the big difference as well is, Sylvie has been a variant her whole life practically, whereas
Yeah.
Loki has only
Hmm.
just become a variant. So they're coming at it from very
Exactly.
different perspectives. Like, it's all new to Loki, but to Sylvie, this is all old, and she would have loved to have a normal life. So that's her
Hmm.
perspective, and she says we're gonna open up the universe to free will, and then we get the multiverse.
Hmm. Yeah. Like, I love how it battles with that, and then I love how they fight at the end. And then she wins overall because she outsmarts
Mm.
him. And then yeah, he has to deal with it. But I feel like what was really sinister was when Kane, like, got stabbed and he's like, fuck. But then
Yeah,
he was like, I'll see you soon. And he gave this little wink. And then you're like,
yeah.
shit.
There's
Shit's
gonna
really hit
be
the
a
fan
bad
now.
version of Penning. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
exactly. So, and I just love the aesthetic and the just the visuals of really the whole
Hmm.
show, but like how it's the mystical elements, right? So like you start off in the TVA and it's like this really boring 70s aesthetic, and it's so
Mm-hmm.
well done and it's so wacky and weird.
Oh,
And then like
amazing.
it's amazing. And then when you get to the timekeepers and you're like, what the fuck is going on here? Like this is like it's like smoky and there's lights everywhere and you see these giant,
Dry ice everywhere.
yeah, and it must be, very slippery in there, I'll tell you what.
Yeah.
Um, and then finally this, I think they call it the Citadel at the end of time or whatever at the in the
Yes.
last
Yes.
episode. Like this like
Hmm.
space rocking looking aesthetic. It's just so cool and it feels so wacky
Oh,
and
yeah.
weird and
Hmm.
it's amazing. The set
Hmm.
design of this show is just incredible. Like
Hmm.
yeah, it's funny. I'm not a big Doctor Who fan, but people compare the show heavily to Doctor Who because it's like the same sort of concept of time traveling, mini adventures.
Yeah.
You know,
Hmm. No, Doctor Who definitely like kind of goes like plays with time like over and over, and they just keep getting better at it. And that show, I mean, it's been going on for ages. It's been going for like almost like 30 years, I think.
yeah,
And the episodes just keep getting more fucked up, as in like terrifying because all these things happen, and shit like that. I haven't watched that too much because I don't have the time for it because it's there's a
no, I
lot
know.
going on in it. But yeah, Loki kind
I
of
definitely have the
tries
same.
that on for size, if that makes sense. They try to
Yeah,
play with time like Doctor Who, and it does work. It does work because they incorporate the Marvel universe and all the superheroes and stuff, and give different versions and stuff. And when it all shit hits the fan at the end, yeah, it kind of you kind of put in perspective when he sees Mobius and Mobius has no fucking clue who he is. It's like shit. Now like Loki's just in this really deep rabbit hole of like time, and he has no idea of what the fuck to do.
mm.
Because that's how I feel. I have no idea like where the fuck I am.
No,
But
exactly.
yeah.
It is a very similar feeling to the end of Infinity War, where like you legitimately don't know
Hmm.
what the next story will be. Writers have talked about this, but it's like you write yourself into a corner and then you try to figure out how to get yourself out of it. And then that's so rewarding for the audience, especially when you do it right. Because
Yeah.
it's like this anticipation of I have no like I love what I saw, but I have no idea what's gonna happen next, and I can't wait.
Yeah. Hmm. No, I agree. Like, and I love how like Marvel does this again. Yeah, with Infinity War at the end. That yeah, like those people disappearing. Like fuck, like that's half the team
Yeah.
gone, and they got so close with that, and
Mm.
they barely fucking defeated Thanos. So like, how are they gonna do this? And then Captain Marvel came along and said, okay, maybe they have a better chance. And then Ant Man kind of helped that as well by going back in time and getting all the Infinity
Yeah.
Stones. Like brilliant, love like how they were thinking like, okay, we can play with time now. Let's go back in time. And then when they fucked it up and Loki, escaped when he wasn't meant to, this
Yeah.
tackled that and was like, all right, well, we actually like put him back on track, because we want to keep one timeline. And then I like that. I like how they made a whole show out of just one mistake, which I
I
fucking
know.
adore. Like, amazing.
And
But yeah.
but it is interesting. Um, I think it becomes clearer later into the show. But at the start, it's like why is Loki being trialed for his crimes when it was the Avengers' fault? And they never really clarify it.
Exactly.
But
Exactly.
later
Yeah.
in the show, it makes sense that Loki is the variant. That is just simply why.
Mm,
Yeah.
mm.
It's like
Yeah.
it's
No.
funny because when they were explaining how you could be a variant, it was like they showed an animation of one guy just being late for work, and imagine like you just you press snooze on your alarm one morning and
Yeah.
you weren't supposed to do that, and now you're like you've been pruned and you're sent to this end of time where this giant cloud dog thing is going to kill you, and you're just like, I just woke up late for work. What the fuck is going
Mm.
on?
It just, yeah, it's unfortunate, but yeah, that'd be
Mm,
hilarious. Like, oh, you decide to sit on the toilet for like 5 more minutes, and
yeah,
there's these fucking SWAT people just coming in and poking you with a fucking stick, and you
yeah,
turn to dust. Like, good on you. But yeah, no, I did love that. Like how they were sending them to this place where they were actually like, properly
mm,
destroyed. That I liked because it seemed a bit weird that they were, they had all these amazing
yeah,
technologies like time travel, but to kill
yeah.
someone, they had to touch them with a stick and they turned to
Stick.
dust. Like I was like, wouldn't they have like a gun or like just more efficient
Well, yeah,
technology
a
to
ranged version of it would be perfect.
exactly, which I feel like would have helped in so many situations when like,
Mm,
Loki was running away or Sylvia was like, you know, running away as well. But yeah, it makes sense, a lot more sense now that they actually want to, like, purely get rid of like things that are not supposed to be there. But yeah,
yeah. And what did you think when Mobius was pruned?
I fucking of course he was talking about the jet ski as well, which I love.
Yeah,
Like that he just
yeah,
has the jet ski thing. It's like, oh, I've always wanted to ride a jet ski. I don't know why I related to that, but I've
yeah,
related to that so well. It's like this poor man has been working his entire life, and he just has this jet ski,
yeah,
brochure or like magazine, and he's just like, fuck, I want a jet ski so bad. It's like you
yeah,
feel so much for this man. He's like working his ass off and he can't even ride a fucking jet ski. And then, he gets, turned to dust and like so sad. But then he turns up in a pizza car and I was very happy.
all is good. But no, I remember because I was watching it week to week.
Hmm.
But so when that happened, I was like, are they seriously going to go the rest of the show without him? But then,
Mm.
like 5 minutes later, Loki gets pruned, and you're like, okay, it's all going to be fine. Because if the main character
Yeah.
gets pruned, then it mustn't be that big of a deal. And
Yeah.
it's not. You just get sent to the end of time, and you can get your way out of it just all right. But it
Yeah.
legitimately that moment really just stuck with me. I was like, holy shit, like that's so sad. Like because
Yeah.
the implication as well is that all of the time variance authority agents are variants themselves, right? So this was probably
Mhm.
some guy who loved jet skis in the 90s or whatever. And that's why he has this longing for this thing that he's missing, and he can't put his finger on it. Why? And
Yeah.
it turns out because he's a variant.
It's so sad. It's so sad. But I love how it's sinister, because like they
Mm,
they pop up like at the start, like you're first introduced to them and they're, 70s, like all bubbly, everyone's, doing their good old job, everyone's got their
yeah,
purpose. It's like, I have my purpose to protect time. And then
yeah,
you kind of see, the first girl who gets enchanted by Sylvia's like, oh shit, I had a life before this.
yeah,
And she like, realizes that she's a variant herself, and then you're faced with the fact that yeah, of course they're all variants that have just been stolen, and then you kind of feel like and then seeing, I think it's who's the main woman that is like the boss of
her name's
Mobius.
Judge Renslayer.
That's right. I that makes sense that I didn't remember that because I
No,
feel
it's
like
a
that
pretty
wasn't said
ridiculous
at
name.
all
No.
in the TV show. But yeah, no, when
Who and in
um
the comics, that character is the girlfriend of Kang the Conqueror. So I think that she knew about it the entire time, and like they're in on it together. But
yeah,
anyway, continue.
no, that makes sense. But yeah, and then I guess yeah, like you said about the jet ski magazine and him actually like being a jet ski guy, because she had a pen that she used that was actually her pen, and she ran a
Yeah,
school back in like in Earth time, I guess.
yeah, when where
So I
she's from.
guess they all have a remnant of their past time with them.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is
Um,
weird.
And like, I guess we'll get into just final thoughts before we do a bit of trivia. Is that what we were going to do?
Yes, yes, I got some questions lined up
Yeah.
for you to analyze and then
Mm.
tell me if I'm bullshitting or
If
telling
they're
the truth. Yeah.
fantastic. So I'll just round it off with I think the best thing about this show is all of the shows have largely felt the same, where there's been this build up week to week of promising something in the next episode, and the previous shows haven't ever really fulfilled the promise. So I'll say the best example is in One Division. It is revealed that there is a different version of Quicksilver, right? There's the Evan Peters version of Quicksilver from the X-Men universe. And this is mind blowing. Like, this is the start of the multiverse, right? But it's actually not. He's just some guy called Ralph Boner. So they just make a dick joke out of it, and that payoff was just simply not worth it. I mean, it's kind of
Yeah.
funny that they had this whole they promised this multiverse, and you got a dick joke. It is kind of funny,
Yeah.
but
Mm,
at the same time, as a fan, that was just like, fuck right off. That is so annoying.
mm,
Um,
yeah.
Whereas this show, it actually sticks the landing. Week to week, it promises something and it delivers it. In
Mm,
that final episode, we get the birth of the multiverse. And another thing is, I mentioned briefly, all these fan theories, because these episodes come out week to week, fans instead of fans just speculating based on the trailer, they're now speculating based on episodes as to what the final outcome is going to be, and you get so
that's good.
hyped up about it because you're like, oh my god, they could go this way, that way, or whatever. And the previous shows haven't nailed the ending because in the fans' minds, we've come up with something better than what the show delivers.
Mm-hmm.
This show is the first time that the fans were actually spot on because fans had predicted that the bad guy would be King the Conqueror, and it actually was. And this was like this mind blowing revelation,
Mm-hmm.
revelation, because he's such a big character in the comics. So
Yeah.
all in all, the show stuck the landing. All of the Marvel shows have been fantastic in their own way, but this one
Mm-hmm.
stuck the landing. So by nature,
Yeah.
it has to be the best one so far.
Thank God. Thank God. Because it was very,
Mm.
very good.
Should we do some trivia?
Yes, we shall. All right. Well, that was wonderful talking about Loki, but now let's get on to some facts or fiction
Mm.
about
This is this.
some of the
This is our new segment. This is our new segment, fact or fiction. Actually, we
yes,
should just copy the TikTok thing where it's like cap, cap or fact or whatever. But let's not do that
yeah,
because let's just stay away from TikTok. This is fact or fiction.
TikTok.
Just keep it simple.
No TikTok. TikTok, where TikTok, what's the opposite of TikTok friendly?
Um, I don't know, neo-Nazi.
Yes, we're neo-Nazi. Um,
Yes.
all
Oh,
right.
Jesus
So,
Christ. Yeah.
all right. So I have a fact here about Tom Hiddleston. He had a
Yes.
college nickname during college, obviously, as we all get if you go to college and you do something stupid
Yeah.
and you get a nickname. I got a nickname for drinking too many wild mooses, which were like a Jim Bean cola,
Mm.
equivalent, really. And I got the nickname Moose. So, you know, and I was named Moose for the rest of my life, literally. Like it's now my middle name. But I've never drunk a wild moose, like other than the first time that I was called that name. Like it's the weirdest thing. So Tom Hiddleston, his college nickname. I'll give you some what are they called? I'll give you a few, and you have to guess
Yeah.
which one was Tom Hiddleston's. All right, here we go.
Oh, okay.
Tom Hiddleston's nickname during college was Brownie. All right, that's the first one.
Well, because he ate too many weed brownies.
Maybe. I'm about to. The fact has like
Yeah.
a description to why the fact is it's
Oh,
fact.
okay.
So I'm yet to read that part, but I'm just
Yep.
making this part because it's fucking sick. Next one is shitter.
Yep. We all know Tom
Third one
Hiddleston's a massive shitter.
is
Just chronic diarrhea,
we don't
really.
we don't know.
Mm. That's why
Third
that's
one.
why that's why they killed off his character because they didn't want to keep him in the Thor movies because Chris Hemsworth was
Mm,
like, God, this guy shits way too much. Get him out of
yeah,
my fucking franchise.
he's terrible. Chris wanted to be the top shitter. He
He
can't
was
be on a
jealous.
set with anybody that shits more than him. That's just
Mm.
facts right there. I think it says it in his Wikipedia, honestly.
Mm.
The next one is paddle. Up shit's creek without a paddle, I guess. And the fourth one,
Mm.
the final one, is piddle.
Okay, well, if there's paddle and piddle, okay, I look. Here's what I'm gonna say. It's gonna be piddle, and it's gonna be a play on Hiddleston.
Yes, that's correct. Congratulations, Lockie. You did.
I'm way
Yes,
better at
you're right.
this than you.
Yes, you are. Well, apparently what happened was the boys at the college made up a little rhyme around, Tom Hiddleston, and they
Ooh.
described it like this: Hiddle piddle did a whittle in the middle of the night. That was
That is a
what they would.
classic. That is a classic
Um,
prank.
yeah, classic prank. Classic haze. Maybe
Yeah.
a bit too much thought into it. A little
But
bit too
like,
much.
think
It's a bit.
about where he's from, right? He's from like he's like posh English, right? So he probably went to some really
Mm,
fancy, university, and the hazing is
that's
all
true.
like, ooh, piddle whittle in the middle
Ooh!
of the night, and it's like, ooh, you know,
Instead of hitting you with a brick on the head, I'm just
yeah,
gonna rhyme your
yeah,
last name because
it,
I'm educated.
exactly,
Oh yeah.
yeah.
Mm. But yes, all right. We'll go on to the next fact. All right. The next fact we have here is Tom Hiddleston wanted to be another superhero in the Marvel universe other than Loki.
Mm,
What
yeah.
hero was that? You have to guess.
It was he notoriously auditioned for the part of Thor in the first Thor movie.
That is correct. Thank you, Lockie.
And there's I don't
You're
know, have you seen the video of it? It's pretty funny. So like
um
he's he's dressed up in Thor's outfit and he's got the long blonde hair. And
mhm.
it's like he's running towards the screen and like kind of punching with the hammer forward, and then there's wind blowing in his hair. Yeah. And it just he looks so bad as Thor. Because he's not the biggest guy, and Thor
Mm,
kind of needs to be bulky. And so
mm,
I don't know, it just doesn't look right at all. Tom Hiddleston
yeah.
as Thor just does not work. So, and he plays an amazing Loki. So I think it all worked
My
out.
I love
And
like
he's getting paid like $1 million per episode. So he's fine. He's fine.
wow. Yeah. Well, I mean, he is acting in like the entire episode. So, I mean, that makes sense. But yeah, I mean, the first Avengers, like he was a fucking amazing villain.
Yeah.
Amazing villain. Like it was actually a force to be reckoned with. And he put every Avenger on like, you know, every Avenger was like, fuck, like, well, this is the first time we're working together, so we don't really know what to
Yeah.
do. But like, he kind of knew what the fuck to do. Even with like Hulk as well. Like, he knew how to toil with the team and how to break them down and like kind of break them up and make, him come out on top. But in the end, he failed, unfortunately. But yeah, we'll see. All right. Next fucking fact. All right. This is a weird fact, and it has something to do with the UK. that Tom Hiddleston is apparently an ambassador. Do you know what ambassador he is for in the UK?
Ambassador. Um,
Yes, he's an ambassador.
Jeez, I had no idea. Um, is he the ambassador for self-cest?
No, not yet. He could be. He
Mm,
could be, because there is this big, group of people now interested in self-cest. So he might be the
yeah.
ambassador because I mean,
I
like
mean,
he's created the
most
whole group for it.
most technology around the world was created for sexual purposes, right? And I think
Mm,
cloning is just a clear example of that. The only reason
100%.
we would ever clone anyone is to fuck it, right? So
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Tom
Exactly
Hiddleston is a
right.
big advocate for that.
Hmm. Hmm. But yeah, no, he's actually a UNICEF ambassador. So
Oh,
he's raising awareness for the humanitarian crisis in like Guinea and South Sudan. So he actually is quite a wonderful person.
well, there we go. Well, he appears to be nice. We don't know what he's doing behind the scenes.
Yeah, but
I'm
that's
on to
actually
you,
what
Tom
he's doing.
Hiddleston.
All right, now for some Owen Wilson facts because we love that man to death.
Wow.
All right, what was Tom? No, not Tom. What was Owen Wilson before he was an actor?
Hmm. I think I don't know why. I'm thinking like he was like a farmer or something. He kind of seems like a farmer to me. I don't know.
That would make sense because I feel like he would fit the perfect. He gets his big
Yeah.
crop in, and you know exactly what he's going to say when it's all laid out and he's done his
Mm.
work. What is he going to say, Lockie?
He's gonna say, "Cool." We all know his most quoted
No, isn't it?
catchphrase
Wow,
is
you
"Cool."
idiot.
Oh, so funnily
You can't,
enough, he never
can't
says
say
"wow."
wow. Yeah, that's true. That's true.
He never says "wow" in Loki.
No, he doesn't. And I mean, I'm kind of glad because that's become a meme and people don't take him too
Yeah.
seriously when he says it.
Yeah,
But
Lachlan.
he's actually a good character that you care about in this film. I mean, in
Yeah, no,
this.
this show made me realize that he is actually a quite a good actor.
Exactly. But yeah, so he was actually a writer before he became an actor. But yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, that I guess helped him understand directors a bit better. But yeah,
Yeah.
what else? Okay, this is a very interesting fact. And I don't know how to put this into a format where you can guess it, but he has never met his daughter Lila.
That's very that's very sad.
Yeah, so according to the Daily Mail, after allegedly refusing to meet his daughter and demanding a DNA test, Owen now pays 25,000 per month in child support to his ex-girlfriend. Va, I'm not going to pronounce that name.
Well, I'm glad you didn't, because she should remain nameless
Yeah,
for
that's
what she has
terrible.
done to Owen Wilson. No, that's crazy,
Yeah.
man. I had no idea he had a secret daughter that like so
Mm,
he essentially just got some girl pregnant and then was like, "No, I'm not the father." That's a really dick thing to do.
mm,
So that's
yeah,
kind of
well,
changed my view on him a little bit.
yeah.
But at
Got
least
Tom
he's paying for
Hiddleston
it.
helping out any people, and you have
Yeah.
Owen Wilson not wanting to see
Yeah.
his daughter. But yeah, what else? So apparently, I'm gonna say, so what really good relationship do you think Owen Wilson has with another famous actor in like the realm of like movies he acts in?
I would say it's got to be Vince Vaughn.
Almost. I would think so as well because like Wedding Crashes and stuff like that. I
Yeah.
mean they're just
Internship.
amazing. But yes,
Yeah.
and the internship as well, which is great. but it's apparently
Okay, can I have a second guess? Can I have a second guess?
yeah, yes, you can.
Is it Ben Stiller?
Yes, it is. Congratulations, congratulations.
Yeah. Because I thought about
How
it.
did?
So Zoolander
Mm,
and Starsky and Hutch.
yeah, yeah.
I don't know if there's anything else.
I don't think there is. Yeah, I don't think there is. Oh, wait, what else is there? No, yeah, there is other movies. Don't worry. But yeah, no, apparently they first met for a role in The Cable Guy, and they just
Okay.
took the piss out of it. But they were also blown away by each other's audition for it, even though they didn't get the audition, because I
Hmm.
think Jim Carrey got it, didn't he?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's hard to beat
Yeah.
Jim Carrey.
Oh my God, I just watched Eternal Sunshine. No, not
Of the
Eternal.
Spotless Mind.
Yes, and fucking just his performance is so good at how he can play someone who's a bit like,
Mm.
bit shy, a bit lonely inside, and like just brilliant, absolutely brilliant film.
He's a
But yeah,
great actor.
he is a great actor. That is all the facts I can manage for tonight because
So I did
the
quite
web
well.
page is not out. You did. You actually did. Surprised you know your shit. All right. I mean, you're running a podcast about films, so it makes sense.
It
But
helps to
yeah,
know. All good.
very good.
Well, thanks, Lucas, for those fun facts, and thanks everyone for watching slash listening.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked about Loki, the fantastic TV show. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Next week, we haven't discussed what we're doing. I think
Mm-hmm.
I've heard some terrible things about Space Jam, and now I'm morbidly curious. And
Mm.
so, just for everyone listening, me and Lucas are in lockdown at the moment. Separately, I'm in lockdown in Sydney. He's in lockdown in Melbourne. So we can't go to movie theaters. So we're gonna have to be a little bit sneaky in terms of how we watch Space Jam.
Yeah,
Um,
we'll probably have to go to the movie theaters, you know, um, in a cage because we'll be locked
yeah.
down.
Oh,
I'm
yes.
sorry. That was the worst joke I've ever said in my entire life. I'm sorry. We'll
Good
probably
thing
just
it
have to
has been
pirate it.
recorded. Shh, shh, shh. No, no, we're not gonna pirate it.
We'll
We
probably
yeah.
just have
But anyway,
to.
I'll say if because the movie came out on HBO Max in the United States, so we might be able to watch it that way. But anyway, it also means that since it's available digitally, there should be a pretty good pirate version of it. So, and also, I don't want to give this movie any of my fucking money. So,
That's true. That is very, very, very true. I mean,
yeah.
why make a second Space Jam? I mean, like the
Mm,
first one was brilliant, had Bill Murray in it. It was just a spectacular, just
yeah,
a mesh of, basketball and cartoon, and you couldn't ask for more. And then they got to make a
yeah.
second one. But yeah.
Yeah, and I've heard that it is quite bad. So we'll probably rip it apart next week. So stay
Mm-hmm.
tuned for that. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
follow us on social media as well. Give us a like and a follow, and review us on websites and whatnot. I don't give a shit, but just listen to the podcast. That'd be fantastic. Um,
Don't. Terrible. No, I actually really enjoy it. No, it's good. It's
mm.
good.
Well, let's leave it there. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you next week.
Thank you. Love you.